I'm happy. And you know why? The original billions have grown into many dimensions. For me, at least, originally we started from a financial dimension. And that is actually, if I may offer my own answer to the last question what was asked. You can conceptualize the billion in a simple way. It is just a unit of account. It could be 1 billion, could be 10, but it could also be 0.1, 0.0001. But it's more about the ambition, the thing what you want to achieve. For me, out of today, I would say 3 points, what I want to reflect back. And the first goes to what Alex started with and then continued with Silla in a fireside. In many terms, I think with public and private, which I would, like it was mentioned also in the last panel, we shouldn't really say us and them, but let's name everything us. And the key point here really is about the mindset and the ecosystem. I'm personally a big believer in the revolving door. I think more people circulate between public and private sector, the better it is, because when people know what is a mindset, what is a thinking on the other side of the table. Yes, it has to be managed. It has to be managed in a way that, as it was also asked here, that bad intentions will not win. But we shouldn't really prevent it to happen. I think we rather should encourage it. How to handle everything in this space, I think it comes again to some simple stuff. It is about the leadership, because this has a direct impact, how fast people in the public sector are allowed to fail and to learn. It is only the top who can say, look, failing is okay, because then we learn and go forward. If the top is afraid, for different reasons, some could be afraid that they are not re-elected, then I think we have a little bit of a problem. But out from personal experience, even though it is a short one, you can make some crazy things and you can still get re-elected, as happened with me. So, don't be afraid. Encourage your people. And then, I think what is also very important is benchmarking. And I'm very, very happy that today, on the stage, we had many people from different corners of the world sharing their perspectives. And that's, in my view, the best way of learning and benchmarking. Individually, I think we can always rank ourselves number one. But it's much more interesting to listen to the others and see what they have done differently and what we can learn from. And I link it also a bit to the event yesterday where I was able to be only half-time, and that is the Nordic Tech Valley talks. And I think one takeaway, again, is in our own mindset, we should perhaps forget about the sovereign borders and more talk about the ecosystems. Because if we take, for example, this corner here, we take Estonia, Finland, Sweden, I mean, sovereign border is irrelevant. Sovereign border has relevance when we look to the east with our specific neighbor, but otherwise, I would say it's more about building the ecosystem, building it bigger than we can do only in our own sort of traditional sovereign space. And that, I think, is something what we should push and also display, that this is a corner or a place in the world that is the best quality of life. because as we learned yesterday, talent attracts talent, startups attract startups, and of course I wouldn't be honest to say if we don't say unicorns attract unicorns. And that actually is my last point on the first topic. Everyone below 30, I believe, has all of a sudden discovered that money has a price. Everyone above 30 knows that this was a normal thing, so don't get discouraged if evaluations have changed because the money has price, because your idea and execution is still what attracts investors. And I double-checked. We have here in Latitude more than 100 funds and over 500 investors present, so pitch your story and go on. The second point, I think, was, or a second dimension of the billions, was really about the speed of a change, the transformation, what we are facing as a mankind, or humankind. That's probably a more inclusive word. And sort of how we can handle it in more equitable way, as we perhaps have succeeded in the past. And some points here, and because my own background has been for quite a while in financial sector regulation, and then I know that banks always complain that just don't regulate us so much, we can't do business. And then coming to this space, people ask, okay, we need regulation. At the first place, for me it was kind of crazy. I mean, how on earth somebody comes and asks for regulation? And then there is a lot of talk about this smart regulation and all these other nice words. But what for me was a big discovery today was actually what came out from a panel, which I think Anne-Mari said. Regulation has to be clear. And that's really the point. And for me, the clearness, in a way, comes also from an angle that it is not too detailed. I mean, particularly if we talk about innovation, the new technologies, other things, I mean, the more detailed the regulation will be, the more trouble it will actually create. And also the idea what was mentioned in the same panel, that we shouldn't really focus in regulating the technology, but the outcomes. That, I think, is the other great takeaway. So for anyone in the public service or in the government. And then on AI, the simple, most talked about example is perhaps ChatGPT. And if I conceptualize the tool for myself, when I was at school, and that was a while ago, we used paper volumes of encyclopedia to search what one thing means or what's the explanation behind. Then fast forward maybe 25, 30 years, and you used search engine in the internet, which gave you a list of links. And then you had to click to discover, and oftentimes coming from a country of 1.3 million, not billion, and not 1.4, obviously not everything is in your own language. And then fast forward another 15, 20 years, and you type a question in the GPT, and it answers you in correct grammar in Estonian, a reasoned explanation or a reasoned answer to your question. Should we be afraid? I don't know. Maybe not excessively. And I think the answer, or at least one answer about the path forward came also from the same panel, what Kersti Kaljulaid shared. We should really focus as a humankind on on intelligence part. If we are intelligent enough, then we are okay with artificial intelligence. If we are not intelligent enough, then I think we have a problem. But that's not because of AI. That's because of we have been learning not in the right way or teaching not in the right way. So let's use it more as an opportunity, but certainly we need a degree of a clear regulation also on AI, which is helping us forward, not backward. And maybe a practical example from another event. A professor from Karolinska University gave an example that in cancer detection, the AI-powered tool gives you 99% plus accuracy. If you think of X-ray, and I'm not a medical doctor, so if you think of X-rays and any other thing where a human has to use a visual capabilities to detect something, machine does always better. So there will be many things, I think, where the technology can really, really make our lives better. And now coming to the third and the last one, collaborative part in billions. I really liked, and I was struck to hear that in India you made it as a government-provided or government-initiated digital service certificate for 1.2 billion. So we count in billions, so that's pretty simple. But I think the key point, what you mentioned, for me, was the service made people's life better, more comfortable. And that, I think, has also been our own journey in Estonia. It's not that everybody was perhaps, in the beginning, really fancy about using the technology, but everybody who started to use experienced that this technology makes my life better. It makes my life easier, and then the word spreads, and then more people come to the game. And collaboration part, I think, is really, really important. Also, what was mentioned in the last panel from the other side of the Atlantic, that it's not only about the technology or the platforms, it's about the social infrastructure, what we equally need. And that is something, I think, what is very difficult to copy, but is something what we can all collectively create by sharing experience, by benchmarking, by being open to new technologies, by pushing our governments to embrace the change, to accept that failing is okay. And then those who want to run to elected office, they can do so. And I would encourage everybody who has an idea that don't be afraid. Just try it out. It's also a great experience. And next time, perhaps, we can also find 1,000 billions or 1 trillion from somewhere and see what good we can do with it for a humankind. So I see I saved a minute and a half. So thank you very much. I'm happy that the event and the brand is alive and kicking, and I'm also very happy that Latitude 59 is an event where people not only come first time, but they do return oftentimes. So enjoy Tallinn, enjoy Latitude, and come back and tell also to your friends.